Discovering the strange surroundings. As consciousness slowly seeped back into their minds, the two strangers found themselves in a dimly lit basement. The air was heavy with a musty scent, and the cold, damp walls seemed to close in on them. Confusion and fear gripped their hearts as they struggled to make sense of their surroundings. Blinking away the remnants of sleep, they took in the eerie scene before them. In the center of the room lay the lifeless body of a man, his eyes staring blankly into the abyss. A single gunshot wound marred his forehead, leaving no doubt as to the cause of his demise. The weapon, still clutched tightly in his weakened hand, served as a chilling reminder of the violence that had taken place. But it wasn't just the presence of the corpse that sent shivers down their spines. The sight of their own ankles shackled to the cold, unforgiving walls left them feeling trapped and vulnerable. The chains that bound them were heavy and unyielding, a stark symbol of their captivity. How had they ended up in this macabre prison? And more importantly, why? Their minds raced with questions, but the answers remained elusive. Memories were hazy, fragmented, like shards of glass scattered across a foggy landscape. They strained to recall anything that could shed light on their predicament, but their efforts were in vain. It was as if their past had been deliberately erased, leaving them with nothing but a void. As they surveyed their surroundings, the strangers noticed the absence of any windows or doors. The basement seemed to exist in isolation, cut off from the outside world. The walls, made of rough-hewn stone, exuded a sense of ancient secrecy. The only source of light came from a single flickering bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting eerie shadows that danced across the room. Fear mingled with curiosity as they cautiously approached the lifeless body. The man's features were etched with pain and anguish, frozen in a final moment of despair. Who was he? And what had led to his tragic end? The strangers felt a strange mix of sympathy and unease as they examined the corpse, searching for any clues that could unravel the mystery of their presence in this grim basement. But as they touched the lifeless form, a jolt of realization coursed through their veins. The man's presence was not just a random occurrence, it was a deliberate message. The chains that bound them, the corpse that lay before them, all pointed to a sinister purpose. They were not mere victims of circumstance. They were pawns in a twisted game, and the stakes were their very lives. With this newfound understanding, the strangers felt a surge of determination. They would not succumb to fear or despair. They would fight to uncover the truth, to unravel the web of darkness that ensnared them. Together, they would navigate the treacherous path that lay ahead, for only by facing the unknown could they hope to break free from the chains that bound them and find their way back to the light. Examining the corpse. As the two strangers slowly regained consciousness, their eyes adjusted to the dimly lit basement. The musty smell of dampness filled the air, and a sense of unease settled over them. Their initial confusion quickly turned to shock as they noticed the lifeless body of a man lying in the center of the room. The sight of the bullet hole in his head and the weapon clutched in his hand sent shivers down their spines. With their ankles chained to the walls, the strangers had no choice but to remain in close proximity to the corpse. Fear and curiosity mingled within them as they cautiously approached the lifeless figure. The room was silent, save for the sound of their own breathing, which seemed to echo in the eerie atmosphere. Examining the corpse, they noticed the man's disheveled appearance and the pallor of his skin. It was evident that he had been dead for some time. The bullet wound indicated a violent end, but the absence of any struggle marks on his body raised questions about the circumstances surrounding his death. Who was he? And why was he here? The strangers carefully observed the weapon in the man's hand. It was a revolver, its cold metal gleaming under the dim light. The weight of the gun felt heavy in their hands as they gingerly picked it up, trying to make sense of its significance. Was it the murder weapon, or had the man taken his own life? As they continued their examination, they noticed a faint glimmer of something tucked into the man's pocket. With trembling hands, they retrieved a crumpled piece of paper. Unfolding it, they discovered a cryptic message scrawled in hasty handwriting. The words seemed to taunt them, offering no clear explanation, but hinting at a deeper mystery. The strangers exchanged bewildered glances, their minds racing with questions. Who had left this message? And what did it mean? Was it a clue to their own predicament or a sinister game being played by an unknown mastermind? Their attention returned to the corpse, searching for any other clues that might shed light on their situation. They carefully examined the man's clothing, pockets, and personal belongings, hoping to find something that would provide answers. But all they found were empty pockets and a sense of frustration. As they stood there, contemplating the lifeless body before them, a realization began to sink in. They were not just witnesses to this gruesome scene. They were entangled in it. The chains around their ankles were a stark reminder that they were not free to leave or escape the mysteries of this basement. The strangers knew that they had to unravel the truth behind the corpse and their own presence in this macabre setting. They had to find a way to break free from the chains that bound them physically and mentally. With determination in their eyes, they vowed to uncover the secrets hidden within the walls of the basement and find a way to reclaim their lives. Little did they know that their journey would take them down a path filled with danger, deception, and unexpected revelations. The examination of the corpse was just the beginning, a small glimpse into the darkness that awaited them. But they were determined to face the challenges head-on, for their survival and sanity depended on it. Realizing the chain situation. As the two strangers slowly regained consciousness, they found themselves in a dimly lit basement, their bodies aching and their heads throbbing. Confusion and fear washed over them as they struggled to make sense of their surroundings. The stale air hung heavy with an unsettling silence, broken only by the distant sound of dripping water. Their eyes darted around the room, taking in the eerie scene before them. In the center of the room lay the lifeless body of a man, his eyes staring blankly into the abyss. A single gunshot wound marred his forehead, leaving no doubt as to the cause of his demise. Gripped tightly in his lifeless hand was a weapon, its cold metal glinting in the faint light. But it was not just the sight of the corpse that sent shivers down their spines. It was the realization that they were both chained to the walls, their ankles bound tightly by heavy iron shackles. Panic surged through their veins as they tugged at their restraints, desperately trying to free themselves from the cold, unyielding metal. Questions flooded their minds, each more pressing than the last. How did they end up here? Who was the man lying lifeless before them? And most importantly, why were they chained in this grim basement? Their attempts to break free proved futile, the chains refusing to yield to their desperate struggles. It was then that a glimmer of understanding began to dawn upon them. They were not just victims of circumstance. They were part of a sinister plan, trapped in a twisted game orchestrated by an unknown puppeteer. Fear and frustration mingled within them, but they knew that succumbing to despair would only seal their fate. They needed to gather their wits and unravel the mystery that bound them together in this macabre setting. As they took a moment to collect their thoughts, they noticed a series of peculiar markings etched into the walls. The symbols seemed cryptic, almost like a language waiting to be deciphered. It became clear that these markings held the key to their escape, a puzzle they needed to solve to unravel the truth behind their predicament. With a newfound determination, they began to explore the basement, searching for any clues that might shed light on their situation. Every nook and cranny became a potential hiding place for answers, and they meticulously combed through the room, leaving no stone unturned. Their search yielded a few scattered objects, seemingly insignificant at first glance. But as they examined each item, they realized that these seemingly random trinkets held hidden meaning. A torn photograph, a faded letter, and a worn-out journal all hinted at a past that was intertwined with their own. As they pieced together the fragments of their shared history, memories began to resurface. Snippets of conversations, fleeting glimpses of faces, and a sense of familiarity slowly emerged from the depths of their minds. It became apparent that their connection ran deeper than mere chance. They were bound by a shared past, a past that held the key to their present predicament. The realization of their shared connection brought a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. They knew that by working together, they could uncover the truth and find a way to escape their chains. Trust began to blossom between them as they shared their personal stories, memories, and fears. With each revelation, the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. They discovered a web of deceit, betrayal, and hidden motives that had ensnared them both. The man lying lifeless before them was not just a victim. He was a pawn in a much larger game, and they were unwitting players in this twisted plot. As they delved deeper into the mystery, they realized that their escape would not come easily. They would need to overcome numerous obstacles, both physical and psychological, to break free from the chains that bound them. But armed with newfound knowledge and a shared determination, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did they know that their journey would take them far beyond the confines of the basement, into a world filled with danger, uncertainty, and unexpected revelations. But one thing was certain: they would not rest until they had unraveled the truth, confronted their captor, and found the redemption they so desperately sought. And so, with hearts filled with resolve and minds brimming with questions, they embarked on a journey that would test their limits, challenge their beliefs, and ultimately lead them to the closure they so desperately sought. Unraveling the mystery of their presence. As the two strangers took in their surroundings, a sense of confusion and fear washed over them. The dimly lit basement seemed to hold more questions than answers. The lifeless body of a man lay in the center of the room, a haunting reminder of the danger they were now entangled in. With their ankles chained to the walls, they were left with no choice but to confront the mystery of their presence. The first step in unraveling the mystery was to carefully examine the crime scene. The strangers cautiously approached the lifeless body, their hearts pounding with trepidation. They noticed the bullet wound in the man's head and the weapon still clutched in his hand. It was clear that foul play was involved, but who was responsible? And why were they chained in this basement? With a newfound determination, the strangers began to search the basement for any clues that could shed light on their situation. They meticulously combed through every nook and cranny, hoping to find something that would provide answers. Their eyes scanned the room, landing on a dusty bookshelf in the corner. As they approached it, they noticed a series of cryptic symbols etched into the wall behind it. Intrigued by the symbols, the strangers realized that they might hold the key to understanding their predicament. They carefully studied the intricate patterns, trying to decipher their meaning. Hours turned into days as they tirelessly worked to unravel the cryptic code. Slowly but surely, they began to piece together fragments of information, revealing a hidden message that hinted at a dark secret. As the strangers delved deeper into the mystery, they uncovered a web of deceit and betrayal. The man whose lifeless body lay before them was not just a random victim. He was part of a larger conspiracy, and they had unknowingly become entangled in its sinister plot. The clues they discovered pointed to a network of powerful individuals with ulterior motives, but their exact role in this twisted game remained unclear. Driven by a desire for answers, the strangers began connecting the dots, piecing together fragments of their own memories and experiences. They realized that their paths had crossed before, albeit briefly. It became evident that they were not mere victims but pawns in a much larger game. The basement was just the beginning, and they needed to uncover the truth to ensure their survival. With each revelation, the strangers grew closer to unveiling the identity of the mastermind behind their captivity. They discovered hidden files, photographs, and documents that shed light on the true nature of their situation. The pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place, leading them to a shocking realization. The mastermind was someone they had trusted, someone who had manipulated their lives for their own twisted agenda. As the strangers unraveled the mystery, they realized that time was not on their side. The mastermind was always one step ahead, leaving behind a trail of destruction and chaos. They had to act swiftly and decisively if they were to escape the clutches of their captor and bring them to justice. Every moment counted as they raced against time, determined to expose the truth and reclaim their freedom. In a climactic turn of events, the strangers finally uncovered the truth behind their presence in the basement. The mastermind's motive was revealed, and the depth of their deception sent shockwaves through their very core. It was a revelation that shattered their trust in humanity and forced them to confront their own vulnerabilities. But armed with this newfound knowledge, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead and bring an end to the twisted game that had ensnared them. As the strangers prepared to embark on their journey towards freedom, they knew that the road ahead would be treacherous. But they were no longer alone. United by their shared experience and a burning desire for justice, they were determined to overcome every obstacle and find closure in the face of adversity. The mystery of their presence had been unraveled, and now it was time to take control of their own destinies.